This is my 2013 Ernie Ball Music Man Sterling 4 HS. And this has one of the most unexpected and wild origin stories of any piece of gear that I have ever owned. Let's roll the intro. Before we go any further, if you like any of the gear that I'm talking about or that I'm using to make these videos, I'll throw a link in the description below to how you can get your hands on some of this gear from Sweetwater. It's where I buy most of my stuff. All my musician friends do as well. Not just because they have the gear, the great prices, but mostly because of the customer service. So check them out in the affiliate links below. 2013 Ernie Ball Music Man Sterling 4 HS. Honeyburst and gorgeous. Beautiful, skinny, flying sort of Ernie Ball neck. It just feels great. It is incredible. And this thing was born June 28th. June 28th, 2013. That's a wild date because right around that time, I'm in my basement and I'm rehearsing guitar. I'm rehearsing guitar for a show coming up on July 4th. July 4th, 2013. A few weeks prior to that, I got a call from John Feldman. John Feldman has been my friend, close friend, since he was doing our Story of the Year record, Page Avenue, in 2002, 2003. I had filled in on a bunch of Goldfinger shows for probably the last couple years. So it's 2013 at this time. I'm in Story of the Year, I'm in Greek Fire, and I've been filling in for Goldfinger when John calls and needs my help. So he calls me a few weeks before this. Says, hey man, we got a show coming up in Panama. And I said, Panama City? He said, no, Panama the country. So I'm like, oh, this is going to be great. Going to go down there, play this cool show, get to see the sights. Maybe I get to see the canal. I know there's a ton of history in the old town and the new town down there in Panama City. So I'm looking forward to it. So I'm jamming. I'm getting the chops up on guitar. This is going to be great. So July 2nd rolls around. I'm a few hours from a flight, essentially, down to Panama. And Goldfinger's management calls and just says, hey man, how many basses are you checking? And I said, wait, basses? I'm not taking any basses. I'm going to take this guitar and probably my Armada. And they said, oh my gosh, we forgot to tell you. You're playing bass at this show. We need you to play bass at this show. I said, are you kidding me, man? What? If you know anything about ska bass or Goldfinger or John Feldman or Kelly Lemieux, this bass is not following the guitar. It's not super simple. It's like rehearse for weeks sort of vibe. Not only that, the one bass that I have is a Stingray that's being borrowed from one of my band members in another band with his new band, and he's out on tour. I don't even have a bass here at home. So I panic. I start calling friends. I'm calling everybody. Yo, can I borrow a bass? Can I get it in the next hour? I need to rehearse this thing. I got like half of a night. And the only thing I could get my hands on was something really cheap that wasn't going to cut it when it came to flying to Panama and doing a show. So I panicked. I called Ernie Ball. And shout out to Ernie Ball, by the way. Because Music Man guitars not only are just incredibly well made, they're just perfect machines, studio, Rode. I use their strings, but the company is so in the corner of musicians, from day-to-day stuff to studio stuff to guys in an absolute emergency. So Ernie Ball says, okay, what can we do? We can overnight it to you, and it'll get there around this time. But then you're at the mercy of the delivery companies, and I got a flight to catch. So I'm freaking out, and I'm like, maybe you can ship it to Panama? I don't know. So this bass that was born June 28th gets flown down to Panama. I meet this thing. I get it ready. It's pretty much already ready to go. And I got a couple hours in a hotel to work through what this is. I had been rehearsing in my mind the whole flight down there. I'm listening to everything. I'm just studying and I'm guessing where everything begins, and I'm rehearsing in my mind. So I got the songs, I just really need to feel out the muscle memory and get some rehearsal in. But we're in Panama. This is my first show I'm gonna be playing with Charlie Paulson, who's the OG guitar player, but I hadn't really known him too very much. And Darren was drumming at the time. So we get there and Darren says, you know, John and Charlie, they're tired, they wanna go to sleep, but I need a partner, we gotta go out and see the city. I'm like, but I gotta rehearse. He says, no, we're going. So we went out, we saw a whole bunch of stuff, had a great dinner, we ran out, we ended up in some random casino, saw the old town, saw everything that went down with Captain Morgan, the real Captain Morgan, and stayed in a brand new hotel that was like 16 hours old, that was tall and gorgeous. It was very, very cool. But I'm freaking out because I got a headlining set of bass lines that I need to get good at. So here's how the show goes. In America, we've got these things, these beer companies, these big giant hallmarky type of marketing campaigns around holidays, other people's holidays, like Cinco de Mayo. So imagine Cinco de Mayo in America. There's a beer company around 2013 that wants to put on a 4th of July, American Independence Independence Day, 4th of July, giant festival to sell a ton of beer and to have a lot of fun down in Panama. So we're headlining that big beer festival. 4th of July, Independence Day, there's American flag stuff everywhere. America threw up on this big piece of land in Panama, the country. The show itself was incredible. Panamanian fans were just absolutely bonkers, and it was awesome. Meeting people, having so much fun, rocking that city. That's 99% of what I remember. That, the food, seeing all the history, and we got to go see the Panama Canal. So fascinating, so amazing. But the fact of the matter is, I don't think I've ever played a show that stressed out. I was zoned in, listening to Darren, trying to lock up with Charlie, trying to remember where this song started. It was crazy, and this was my partner in all of it. Now, since then, I've played Goldfinger shows on guitar hundreds and hundreds of times, but maybe bass only about 6 times. That was the only time I ever used this on stage, and I probably sweat on this guitar more than I've sweat on any other guitar. A, because of the weather, and B, because I was so stressed out. But you know, I had fun, and then I brought this back to the US, and it's been in my studio ever since. I've used it on countless demos, probably 100 demos. I used it on a song called Rose Gold Gun, and then recently, Mark from Greek Fire picked it up during a rehearsal and fell in love with the feel of it, the sound of it, and has been using it for all sorts of things with his other band and with Punk Rock Machine's latest show. So it really is a beautiful machine. This thing is incredible. I wouldn't have picked this color because it's not really my vibe, but I've fallen in love with it. Maybe it's because of the history, the stories, the connection that I have with it. But it's awesome, and I wanted to share the unique and wild origin story of my 2013 Music Man Ernie Ball Sterling 4 HS. If you're vibing to any of these stories or any of this kind of gear, like the video, share the video, subscribe, and even throw down in the comments maybe questions you have about this bass or any other guitar you've ever seen me play or that you might be interested in. I'll see you on the next episode. Thank you for joining me. It's such a pleasure and an honor to talk about such sweet stuff. We're living in beautiful times. Take care of yourself and energy up.